Let's talk about License to Ill, an album that, whether you love it or not, changed the face of music. It was released in 1986. License to Ill was the Beastie Boys' debut album, and it didn't just make noise, it blew the doors off hip-hop, punk, and mainstream culture. It was loud, it was bratty, unapologetically wild, and it captured a moment in time when rebellion met creativity in the most chaotic, unforgettable way. So what made this album so impactful? First, we have to talk about the sound. Produced by Rick Rubin, License to Ill blended rock and rap like never before. It wasn't just a crossover, it was a collision. Tracks like No Sleep Till Brooklyn had Slayer's, Kerry King on guitar while Fight for Your Right. Sounded like a beer-fueled punk party with turntables. The samples were raw, the beats were huge, and it was hip-hop with a mosh pit energy. And lyrically, the Beastie Boys, Mike D, Ed Rock, and MCA were full of swagger and sarcasm. On the surface, they played the role of, goofball frat bros, but underneath all the party anthems, there was a self-aware wit. You got Paul Revere. It's basically like a fictional western told in reverse. Brass Monkey somehow made a cheap cocktail into a cultural movement. And even when they were clowning around, their, rhymes had rhymes, punch, and flow. But this album isn't just about its sound. License to Ill was the first rap album to ever hit the Billboard 200, which is wild when you remember that three white guys from New York were doing it with a sound that, mashed punk rock and hip-hop. Their success kicked down doors. For better or for worse, it showed that hip-hop could be a commercial force. But it also raised questions about cultural appropriation, where the Beastie Boys elevated the genre, or, profiting off of a scene that weren't originally part of. The truth is a bit more complicated. The Beastie Boys came out in New York punk scene. They'd been immersed in hip-hop from the ground up. They weren't just tourists, they were students. And later in their careers, they acknowledged their privilege, grew up, and evolved as artists. But License to Ill captures them before all of that, loud, young, and reckless. So how should we look at this album today? On one hand, it's a time capsule of the 1980s. It's raw, funny, even juvenile. On the other hand, it's a landmark moment for genre blending and hip-hop's mainstream breakthrough. You don't get Limp Bizkit or Linkin Park or even Eminem without this record. And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, well, that's up to your debate. You can comment below however you feel about that. I was even thinking about, this is just the white version of Run DMC, but we can talk about that at another time. In the end, License to Ill is about energy. It's about breaking rules. It's about being obnoxious and clever at the same time. It's about three guys who turned youthful chaos into music history. Love it or hate it, License to Ill isn't just an album. It's a moment. A moment like that don't come around very often. So if you haven't listened to this album, check it out. Let me know what you think. If you want to go through a whole debate online, comment below. We'll talk all about it. Or you can just remix it and we'll talk, whatever you want to do. If you want to debate this album, we'll debate, okay?